Hey listeners, powered up by Mazer Group, this is the Turnin Dirt podcast. I'm your host, John Mazer. Thanks for coming on to the Turnin Dirt podcast. To all listeners out there, we have Keith Aulie from Aulie Farms out of Rollo, Saskatchewan. This is the first time Keith and I have met, but there is history in business as well as in our personal lives. It's the whole 6 degrees of separation thing. Like, I've heard a lot about you and how much of a beauty you are, and I can understand why, because I met you like 10 minutes ago, and like we were out for a smoke. I'm like, Jay, this guy's fucking beauty. So it's great to have you on. So yeah, I know I maybe mapped out about what order we're going to do things in, but I think I would like to start on the farming part first. Maybe go back as deep as you can for me, Keith, because you grew up on a farm, didn't you?
Yeah. Grew up just outside of Rollo on the farm. And so dad moved to mom's farm. Basically, mom was an only child. So dad moved in and more or less took over the farm over a few years there. So he had basically the whole farm there with none of mom's siblings to worry about. So he basically took it over and grew it up. He was into Clydesdale horses as well.
This is Dad. This is Bill?
This is Dad. Yeah. So he had up at certain times, he had up to 50 Clydesdale horses there at times.
Oh, wow.
And so some of them were going to Budweiser, and then he met this guy in Oklahoma that he ended up sending a bunch of black Clydesdales to. So
really?
that's always kind of been his hobby and passion.
Yeah. Clydesdales, I mean, they're workhorses. Like born and bred workhorses. Like, yeah, that's awesome. So had a contract with Budweiser, or how does that work?
He was like, he would call himself like a junior hockey team. He would scour Western Canada or wherever for these good young, at the time it was bay, like reddish Clydesdales. Yeah. And he'd bring them in at a young age and raise them and then train them how to drive and to show and basically, if Budweiser wanted him, it wasn't just Budweiser; it was whoever he'd want, and he'd kept some of the good ones himself. And then it turned into the black Clydesdales, and yeah, at certain times, I think he said he had 55 there at one point. Wow. So I grew up helping him do chores, and not that I really wanted to all the time, but
you never want to at that age. But it's just like, yeah, you're not asked, you're told.
Yeah. So that was his passion, I would say. Grain farming was where he made the most money, obviously. And as farming has evolved and he's grown but right from, I'd say maybe 16 years old when I went to go play in Brandon, I really got involved in the grain farming side of it. And that's where my passion was. And
right.
And so every summer come back, race home after our playoff run in Brandon and basically get right on the drill usually is what it was. So run home and get seeding done. And then, you kind of be a kid at the same time. And at that age, I was, trying to finish school and everything else. But as I got older, I'd come home and it'd be one thing, it'd be seeding, and then we'd go fishing for a month, and you go spraying, and it was kind of fit all these young things
activities
in your mind. So I was involved with the farm, but never as a manager or anything. And, I had my ideas, and Dad was pretty good with kind of letting me sculpt the farm into different ways and all these things. And I would say that maybe he would have been okay with keeping it at one size or whatever else for maybe ever. But I expressed the interest to be there, and I told him I'll do hockey, and when hockey's done, I'm coming back. And so that's why we kind of kept it going and growing. And we're not a big farm by any means, but it's basically Dad and I, and we have a hired man, and we have some casual help. And so, go play 12 years pro hockey and come back and I have kids and a wife, and we build a house there, and the farm's kind of there ready for us, and it's just kind of rocking and rolling.
Yeah. So concurrently with your hockey career, you're coming back, working on the farm. And dive in a little bit for me, Keith, on the, to use your word, sculpting the farm now. Like, I mean, are we talking about just size things and like more land acquisition, or is there different kind of aspects of the farm that you got into?
No, I think it was probably mostly at that time, like in my early 20s, I bet you it was mostly agronomically, like just how we're doing things, how we're getting the most out of our land as we can, whether it be, drainage or fertilizer or herbicides, whatever it is. I mean, he liked that stuff, but he didn't care about managing that stuff as much. He would rather, make the plan quick, and then he enjoyed farming, right? He enjoyed the act of farming. So we kind of worked good that way together, where I was, especially when I was away, I was researching and talking to people on the phones and kind of doing my schooling with not even going to school, like it was on the bus going to a game. I'd be talking to somebody about this new thing or whatever else. And then later on it was marketing grain while I was going to the game
and it's probably the best education you can ever get in your life. It's like, I'm not going to say it's like the school of hard knocks, that cliche line, but it's like, you're in it, like, and they can teach so much, they can teach whatever they want in actual class, university or whatever. But like what you were doing there is you're running a farm and like asking pertinent questions that really pertain to your operation. Right. So that's where you learn. It's definitely where you learn. Yeah. So right on. So, I know I was gonna ask you about the technology side. So I know you mentioned that, Keith, and that was it's probably opened up a lot of doors on the farm when because you go from an old school farmer, not to put an age on Pops, but like there's a generational shift there, which we've all seen of, old school farming where it's just, put the seed in the ground, give it a couple rounds of spraying, and then take it off with a combine, and it just is what it is, But now with the technology we have, it's like online farms. It is, telematics coming in off the machines. Are they being as efficient as they could be? So I'm assuming that that shift took off right when you were 16. There, you started getting into it.
Yeah, for sure. And like one of the main ones I remember was when I was playing in Europe here. This was only 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And we always had to go there August the 1st. So I was always gone for harvest.
Right.
And so, you'd be calling back and getting everything, helping them set up all this stuff. And we had, right when Climate Field View came out, it would actually stream it on the internet. So I'd sit over there. I remember my wife and I and my kids being in Italy.
Yeah.
And in the hotel room with the iPad up, watching them cut into the first field of lentils. It's like, how are they going to be? And, you're watching them on the field. Like, it's just hilarious. And you're in a different side of the world, but you're
watching it real time.
Yeah, watching it real time.
The first time I met your dad, Jim took me out, and he was watching you play hockey. Like it was 10 in the morning or something like that. So with the time difference, so that was pretty cool. But he did mention exactly what you said right here, Keith. Is that like, you'd be over there, but all of a sudden his phone would ding, and he'd either get a text from you, and like the message would be, "Don't go through that slough." Like something like that, and he's going like, "What the hell's going on?" But that's what technology has come to with these things. So obviously you're seeing a live map of where all the machines are. So how many combines do you run?
We have 2 now.
Yeah.
We usually only had 1 until 3 years ago, I guess.
Gotcha. So the primary, I guess, what am I looking for here? Software is Climate Field View.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of your main hub for all
that's what we've used. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so it covers, I'm guessing, does it do a telematics portion of it? Like there's telematics from the combine that come in, and like, we're talking like, fuel consumption, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think it actually does fuel consumption. It's mostly just the yield. It's mostly just the grain coming in, your productivity. Gotcha. I think we have Kloss combines, and I think they do have and I know for sure they do have the telematics as far as the fuel and all that stuff. That's never been something that I've been too interested in seeing. And now that I'm here, I guess we just don't have a big enough organization to really care about the individual stats that much. And it's not like I'm a manager sitting in the office now looking at all my machines. I'm in them. And
absolutely. You're owner operator, right? So, you get even like, you get up to that operation size where you merit 4 combines, there is, there was a study done, or not a study, but like just, I guess, looking over the data, if you run a fleet of 10, it's amazing, how much, those veteran operators, how much more they can get a combine humming compared to, a seasonal guy that's just there for maybe been 2-3 seasons in the seat of a combine. But like you work that over the entire harvest year, like it's crazy. They're doing like half the, like, the newbie's doing half the acres and maybe losing more, maybe the settings are different out back. So like, that's a real advantage for an operator.
With the 2 of us, like Dad runs one combine, I run the other, and they have the CMOS automatic on it so that it changes the settings. And usually what happens is he'll run the CMOS on, and I'll kind of run manual. And we'll just talk to each other each few hours and where's your settings at? What's it doing? And you just go that way. So it kind of works for us, I guess.
Gotcha. So can I ask when the transition to Kloss came around? And was it data driven or like technology driven, or was it like what were the factors involved there? Yeah,
it definitely wasn't just we want to go to a different brand or anything. It was we were using red combines, and honestly, probably the biggest thing was the spreading. We were like, you're picking up durum pretty close to the ground, heavier durum crops, and then you're leaving 5 inches of big rows of chaff, and stuff that a harrow couldn't even move around, and so that was our first thing. And then once you actually test drove one of these other machines, especially the Kloss, you realize like you have complete control over your threshing in one spot, and then you're separating in a different spot, and it just made things like open up. You just had so much more window in the day to be gentle on your crop at certain times, to be harder on your crop, and so that those two things I think were the biggest factors. And just the capacity in general. We were trying to do over 5,000 with one combine, and that's
a lot of acres for one combine,
especially one case combine. It's it's not just acres, it's higher yielding durum and stuff that's slow going, right? So standing canola, and so that was the biggest thing. I try not to be too brand, like I always say, I'm a bit of a brand. I don't care that much about the brands. I care about the dealerships more.
Yeah, we could get very, I don't know if savage is the word, but you could call yourself a brand whore.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I didn't know if that was going to have to get bleeped out or what. But.
No, absolutely, you could say that. But
watch your mouth, Johnny. Watch your mouth.
Okay. Yeah, I will not say it again. But what the term I use is that your farm is a Smarties box.
Yeah.
That's a G-rated one I can use.
Yeah.
I got no problem with that.
Yeah, different colors, every color under the rainbow, but there's nothing wrong with that.
And I mean, I know lots of guys have a good time with one dealership and they treat them good, and there's nothing wrong with that either. I've developed relationships with you guys and with a few other guys, and I've just been comfortable. And it's kind of like when the technology, maybe you guys will come out with your quad track like you're talking, and then you're in the ball game, in my opinion. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know.
And that's super exciting, because I mean, I don't. Do I want to say this? I'm going to say it. We at New Holland dealers, we can't go into a yard right now with a track machine and sell over a RX or a quad track.
Yeah,
it's just we met the market by turning wheeled machines and bolting on ATI tracks. Right, great machines, but. What you're sitting in a quad track, Keith, is a truly engineered track machine.
Yeah.
So thankfully, New Holland's stepping up to the plate and putting, we're going to have an engineered track machine. It won't be called a quad track. However, it does come out of the same plant as a quad track. It'll be something different. Yeah. But this is a truly engineered track machine. Same undercarriages as case. So there'll be some demos happening at your place, man. I'll tell you,
it's exciting.
Yeah, I love it. I love having red iron on the lot here. So, yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. Like one of my buddies was saying, "Don't you feel bad for demoing equipment? Like it's kind of like free hours." And I'm like, "No,
not at all.
Not one bit."
Yeah, especially especially the dealers coming out there, like they want you to demo it. At least because then at least right?
Yeah. Well, like you don't go buy a vehicle and not take it for a rip. I mean, I'm not asking for many hours. Like usually it'd be like you could make a decision in half an hour.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly it.
You got to try it.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
$1 million equipment nowadays.
Yeah. Which is crazy. Yeah. Which is insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one other thing I was going to ask you. You'd mentioned about, in sculpting the farm, one of the things you got into was land management. And I think that's where Mazer Group has come in a little bit with our ditchers, or part of it anyway. How, where does that start on the farm as far as, obviously you see a field, there's a slough here, we can drain, that sort of thing. What are you using for technology to figure that out? And then what are kind of the implements that are used to make it more, I guess, increase the farmable acres on your land?
Well, I guess, a few technology things, I guess. For me, the biggest thing was an RTK base station, and I got that probably 13 years ago, I want to say, maybe more, maybe 15 years ago. And so at the time, it was a big investment. That was $12,000, and $12,000 was more to us back then, I guess.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot of money still. Yeah.
But back then we didn't have many other options. We had, I think, 3-inch horizontal guidance was our best option.
Yeah.
And that was like 5 inches vertical.
Yeah.
And so. We grow lentils and we have flatter land, and it's like we're losing all these acres every year. How can we get better? And it was like we got to control water.
Yep.
And so C&D started coming in on some of our land, and it was like let's do this. And so, Yeah, right onto it, the RTK right on the scraper, and then on a Wolverine. Once we got a Wolverine, we're now on our second one from you guys, and it's just clean stuff up. You can get on land properly at the right time. You can spray at the right time. You're not seeding land and then having it flood.
Yeah.
It's just taking advantage of everything that you have already.
Yep.
And
the
then
land's there. You just got to move it around a little bit to better, you say, better drainage, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And so the other thing with the RTK was seeding between rows.
Yep.
And spraying in the same rows.
Yep.
Those are huge advancements for our farm for sure.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff. Yeah. And I mean, again, all based around technology, but it's crazy how much water can affect a field, especially if it's not draining properly, right? So
it's literally everything. I'd say it's the biggest ROI on our farm.
Is that right? Eh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's good stuff. So can I ask how many acres you do farm?
6,500.
Oh, amazing. Unbelievable. It's a great size farm.
Yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit from the ag stuff, I'd like to talk about your hockey career a little bit, if that's okay. It started in, this is where our roots kind of, because you didn't grow up in Brandon, you grew up in Rollo, but you came to Brandon to play for the Wheat Kings. Yeah. So, I don't know where we start on this one. Do you have any suggestions, Jay?
Well, I just want to know, I want to know how, when you realize that you may make it to the show.
Yeah.
For going from Brandon Wheat Kings.
It's a great question to ask. Yeah.
Dub HL, obviously you get to the dub, and that's where people start probably really contemplating, do I have it or do I don't have it?
Yeah.
Who's telling you what? And did you have an idea that hey, did you know it was going to happen? And if not, when did you?
I played we called it house league. I played in Rollo until I was 13. 13, yeah. And so we played with whoever we could play with in the town of Rollo, 500 people. I mean, we had some pretty good players and we had some not very good players at all. And it was I started playing spring hockey, I'd say, when I was 12. And so, but I always think back, Mom and Dad were just so chill, and they wanted me to do well, but they didn't have any of this in mind. They just kind of, he's getting better. Okay, we'll put him with these guys then. He's similar to these guys, and let's have fun. Let's go do spring hockey and go to Calgary with a bunch of good families and have a good trip. But it was never so much about let's get this guy as good as he can, as fast as he can. And maybe times have changed, but that's part of my thing nowadays is I see the parents at 5 years old, they're pushing their kids
oh man.
And I don't know.
Tough to watch, eh?
Maybe that's what it is. I don't sit there and look at my kid and say he's going to the NHL and I'm going to do everything. I just let him be a kid, let him come into it. But so anyways, I got to, I guess, 14, and that's when a few of the other kids from my town were going to go play Bantam AA. And so we went to Weyburn. I started playing there and started getting better there, and that's when I had some agents come around. And I guess they kind of just opened our eyes a little bit to, hey, I could, play in the dub, and I got the size, and I'm pretty good defensively, and maybe you could be a pro prospect at some point. So those, sorry to interrupt you, those agents at 14 years old is your first kind of, they're telling you there's something here. They see something in you, and there could be a career in this for you. Yeah, and I would say at the same time when I was playing spring hockey a few of those years, it was okay, we're playing against the best players, and I'm kind of doing pretty good against them, I guess, was kind of the thought. And it's okay, if we're nearing the best in our age group here. And then there was a few, I think Top Prospects is one of them, and I was the top 3 in there. And so you kind of get it in your mind that, okay, I'm getting better quickly. And so that's when Dad was okay, let's put him in AA. That's an hour drive each way for practice from Rollo on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's no small commitment. I remember, he's trying to work on the farm. He's by himself and train horses and everything else all winter. And here we're going 2 hours of drive. That's Yeah. But he committed though. Committed. He obviously saw the passion in you, right? Because you were absolutely loving hockey at this point. So that's a beauty of a dad right there. This is something that you wanted to pursue, and he was right there with you. Yeah. Never. I only really ever remember I took a bad penalty. I hit a guy a little bit maybe too hard, bent him over the boards back one time, and I got kicked out of the game. And that was really the only time I've ever seen him say anything that aggressive about my hockey game. Is that right? He usually just let the coaches do their things. And he might have a little thing here or there, and he never liked when I was lazy. That was his big thing. Yeah. He wanted me to be engaged. Yeah. but that was about it.
Yeah.
And I just, I always.
What did he have to say about you knocking a guy backwards over the boards?
Well, he just said, better than that. And I think it was in Rollo. And I think it was a big game, so I got kicked out. And I actually don't think he even saw it. He heard about it and heard that it wasn't a very good hit and stuff. So he just said, I never want to see that again. And
did the guy deserve it?
unfortunately, I think I might have taken a few more of those in my career, but it was past when he was around me. So,
oh, right on.
So, but yeah, I always look back and I'm thankful for how he raised me that way. And I kind of hope that I'm the same way with my kids, to be honest. So,
yeah. Well, good role model to take after, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you're just talking about him here. Like, I've met him once, when I went there at gym, as I mentioned before. But yeah, he's just a beauty of a guy.
Yeah.
Absolute beauty. Yeah. I'm gonna. This is a good segue into a story that I would like you to tell. It can be really quick if you want, and then we'll keep talking about hockey. But there was an incident on the farm with Pops, and I'm not sure what he was doing, but he fell through some ice. Did he not?
Yeah. That had to do with hockey too. I think it was my first year in Brandon, so I was 16.
Yeah.
And so it was the under 17 hockey challenge in Regina that year, and that was right around Christmas. So I came home, had a few days at home for Christmas, and our idea was we'll go push the snow off the dugout and make a little skating rink, and we'll do a little family skate and whatever else. We did it lots of Christmases, and
sure, yeah.
So he gets in his MX tractor there, and there was quite a bit of snow banked up on the one end of the ice. So he gets on the one side, and I think he had kind of made a hole in the one end, and it was a foot or whatever. And problem was at the other end, underneath the snow, it wasn't quite so thick. So he gets down to the other end of the dugout, and next thing I know, me and my wife at the time, we're standing on the ice, and all of a sudden we hear this cracking, and it's like, okay, that's too aggressive.
Yeah.
And, you're trying to wave or whatever, but at that time, just boom, tractor goes right down to the bottom.
So you
So we were right there.
Yeah, you watched this. You're hearing the cracks, trying to wave them down. Like, I mean, that in itself, like, heart sinking.
Yeah. And so the problem was, there's a cab on the tractor.
Yep.
So you don't know, like, if he's going to be stuck in the cab or if the window broke or what. We're all wearing 50 pounds of winter gear. Like, how good can you swim with big winter boots on?
You can't.
And so the tractor went down, and I just remember it pretty much plugging the hole that it went down, and the roof was basically the level of the ice. So there just wasn't much space to see anything, or to even, like, if you wanted to get in there, to even get in there. There was just no water. The ice.
Really? So the tractor went through and it
hit the bottom.
Yeah. So it was sitting on the bottom, but you're saying like the cab was at the water, or
the top of the cab was the same level as the ice.
Oh, so this thing is completely submerged.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so it was actually, like, I still remember it was actually still driving for, I don't know how long, maybe it was 5 or 10 seconds. I have no idea. Wow. It was a blur.
So
but
it was moving through the ice away from you?
It would kind of come up, and then it would hit the bottom, and it would drive forward a few feet, and then it would kind of bob up, is what I remember.
Yeah.
And so instead of just plugging the hole perfectly, it would kind of go forward, and there'd be a little bit of a gap.
Yeah.
And so I'm over there, and, like, I didn't know if I was going to go in too, or the ice was going to fall through or whatever, but it seemed like forever. But I can just remember my wife screaming on the side, and so I'm over at the hole, and next thing I see, like, I can see him come up. The water had come over the ice and kind of melted the snow, so I could see through the ice pretty good. And all of a sudden I see him coming up with his eyes closed in all of his gear, and he's swimming up underneath the ice, and I'm literally looking at him through the ice right at him, and he's
coming up to a close, like, there's no hole.
There's no hole.
Oh wow, my anxiety's hitting
it's
a peak here.
Yeah. So that was like, at the start it was like, okay, what are we gonna do to get him out? Let's get him out. But then you see him, and you can't actually. And
the ice was too thick for you to, like, stomp through.
And then it's too thick for you to do anything with. And so all I remember him doing is kind of going like this, and then I guess he kind of felt the edge of where he should be, although the tractor was mostly plugging the hole. But the tractor, what I remember was the tractor was still kind of bobbing forward and back. And so eventually, maybe it was a couple more seconds, felt like 5 minutes, but a couple more seconds, he gets himself over and gets a hand there, and that's when I could reach down and get a hold of him and then get him wedged. And I remember him getting stuck for a second. The tractor was plugging that hole again.
Yeah.
And so he's in there wedged, and then I thought, he's
submerged in water this whole time.
Yeah, and I can't remember if his head was quite out at that time, but he was just jammed in the hole for a minute, or a second probably.
Yeah.
And
what
then
seemed like an hour.
yeah, and so then it's like, okay, now he's going to be jammed here, and
yeah, I get you're watching.
and so yeah,
Oh,
but so then eventually somehow got him wedged out of there, and it felt like I threw him 40 feet, but I just flung him, and
That's pure
like after
adrenaline
that we're
working
just
at that,
completely stunned and in shock, and he's kind of stumbling around, and obviously cold. I mean,
yes,
you're not going to die from cold that fast, but we stumbled him back to the house, and he got changed up, and we just kind of sat there, and we're just like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Man. Just went to my sister's hockey practice later that day or whatever, I remember, and we're just like
I mean, the magnitude of what happened that day. I guess like my question out of it all would be like was there any aspects of life that changed for you after that? Like did you view life in a different way? Did Bill view life differently? Like, or was it just an accident that happened on the farm and we're moving on?
Yeah, I don't think too much. We never really talked about it that much either. He had a few close calls with his life. Like he got sideswiped by a semi one time, and I don't know. I think maybe you just appreciate stuff a little bit more. But
I think about things like what if you weren't there?
Yeah,
and that happened. Like you don't want to think about that,
no,
but there's some blessings in every curse, right? So he goes through the ice, but he has his 6 foot whatever 220-pound son there to help him get out, because it was just your wife, maybe that doesn't happen, right?
Well, and that's what I remember the most actually, is the decision before that, because 20 minutes before that I was helping him do chores with the horses, and not something I love doing or whatever, but I was home for Christmas and let's go help him. And he said, will you come over and look at the ice or just watch the ice? And I could have just said no and went in and
but
had a beer with my mom or whatever, but
but you didn't.
But Keith. I didn't, and so it's
He owes you something, man.
Oh,
I'd be calling in those favors from Pops all day. Remember the ice tie, bro?
Right. Well, that's funny because it was just a couple days ago. We were out checking the ice again to see if I could ice fish in my dugout with my boys, because I got trout in there.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm out there drilling holes, and I see him step on the ice. I said, "You a little nervous about the ice these days?" "Oh, not bad." He just goes right out to the middle.
Oh, really? Like
he's not nervous.
Oh, good for him. Well, at least there's obviously no fear that came out of it, right?
No,
he probably understands, as anybody being a veteran farmer, that
he's probably embarrassed by it a little bit. Just
it doesn't happen to you,
he's done it all his life, and screws it up, and
Thank you so much for sharing the story about your dad. That was crazy, and
haven't told it for a while actually.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you telling us, because it's it's crazy, hell of a story. Back on the hockey stuff. I know we had talked about kind of your around that age 14 of the agents coming up to your scouts, if you will, saying that there could be a future. So what? I guess when was the time that there was obviously a draft year to the WHL?
Yeah. And I think that's 14. Yeah. That bantam draft, just after your bantam year. Yep.
Gotcha. Right on. Yep. And then onward. And so you played, was Brandon the only dub team you played for?
Yep. Yeah. I played my 15-year-old year in Wilcox with Notre Dame.
Oh yeah.
So I could live at home. And then straight to Brandon for 4 years.
Gotcha. Yeah. The Wilcox hockey program there, it's pretty intense.
Yeah. I quite enjoyed my time there.
Yeah.
If there's any negativity ever, it's usually kids that are having to move away from home and live there.
Yeah.
I would say is the biggest problem that kids find out. But for me, I could live at home, and it was awesome. Go home at night to a good meal, and
yes.
I loved the schooling part was great there. It would push me a little bit more than I was always pretty good in school. So I like the schooling part as much as the hockey part.
Really?
The teachers, and the Catholic schools are just a little bit more personal with the teachers, and I don't know. I liked everything about it. I met friends there that I still have to today, and
that's awesome.
And I would probably look at them for my kids there too eventually.
Is that right?
Notre Dame, yeah.
We had a fucking unicorn sitting in the studio, we just like the schooling stuff, which is awesome, by the way. But typically, sports is an excellent outlet for anybody, right? But and schooling, I mean, if you're into sports, typically you don't care about the schooling.
Yeah.
It was you were saying it was a great part of the whole program. So amazing. So then you're off to Brandon for 4 years, you said?
Yep.
Awesome. And so how did the, I guess, NHL draft, how did that go? Like, I mean, what was any experiences, notable experiences during that time? And then, your first couple years in the show, like how'd that go?
Like, well, when I was 16 coming into Brandon, I was a first round pick. But I really didn't play much. I think I only played half the games. I was healthy scratch lots and kind of just finding my way and kind of growing into my body a little bit and getting stronger. And but Kelly McCrimmon was there, and he was awesome with me. He was like my second dad, kind of. He helped me out, and he was hard on me, but yet he kind of had a plan for me and stuck with me. And so by the time I was 17, I started to get better and got drafted 4th round to the NHL. So wasn't by any means a highly touted prospect or anything. I was just kind of a mid of the pack guy. And
yeah, it's a draft number though, which is unreal.
Yeah. So, but played a few more years, and then by the time I was 19, I was getting quite a bit better, and got invited to the World Junior Camp, and ended up playing with Tyler Myers as my defense partner with World Juniors, and we kind of got paired together in camp, and they liked what they saw, so they just kept us together. And I wasn't really supposed to make the team or anything, and
no kidding.
And they liked what we saw. Tyler Myers was a Notre Dame guy too, so it kind of.
Oh, so did you know him?
I knew of him. I think I'd met him a few times, but nothing, like we weren't close or anything.
Gotcha.
And then made World Juniors, which was in Ottawa that year, and that was kind of like what I would say was my coming out party a little bit, where I played well against some of these better players, and so signed my first contract during the tournament. And
oh, really?
So that was an exciting time for me for sure.
Yeah.
And then the next year, 20 turned pro.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so when you say sign my first contract, was that like an NHL contract?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. That's a 3-year contract as you sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your entry level. Yeah.
So is that a call that comes in? Like just one day you got.
Yeah. Well, I knew, like at the time it was Daryl Sutter was the GM in Calgary. So I knew he was at the tournament, and so I guess he watched me for a bit and kind of thought that I fit in and knew I was going to play pro the next year. So he calls you up, and it happens so fast. Like the entry level, there's not many things that you can really do. Like there's kind of the bonuses, which for me as a 4th rounder are just kind of a signing bonus. That's it. There's not really much performance bonus. Yeah. And then there's kind of your salary, which is pretty much going to be what it is. Like it's not much to do. So
right. Yeah.
So that came together in probably an hour, and
that quick.
Yeah. Like, it's just boom, boom.
Yeah.
And, you trust your agents too.
Sure.
It kind of is what it is. Like I was playing as good as I've probably ever played. So it's not like I was going to hold out from
no, that's just it. Like, I mean, you're confident in the game you were playing, and like, if this is the contract that's put in front of me after I'm comfortable with the show that I put on, then you jump on that.
Yeah. So played my first year pro was AHL with Calgary's farm team in Abbotsford. And I still remember we were in Austin, Texas, and we had a couple games in Texas, and I think we won the last one, so we were all out to the bars, and
oh boy.
We had a long night. I don't think we got home until maybe 4 a.m. or something. And I don't even know if we went to bed. We had a bus at 7 the next morning, and stumble out to the bus, and there's Daryl Sutter, and he just kind of goes like this and come over, and he goes, "Yeah, you're not coming with us home. You're getting on a plane and going to Toronto. Traded you."
Really?
So I was part of that trade with like Dion Phaneuf, and I think there was like 6 NHL players and then me. So I was kind of the
really.
Yeah. So got traded to Toronto, and then that's where I ended up playing my first game and stuff like that. So played there for 3 years, and then on to Tampa, and then on to Edmonton. So
nice. So, Toronto is obviously that's just awesome to be involved in a Canadian team, and like and Toronto's like, I mean, you're a Toronto Maple Leaf, you're a New York Yankee, you're a Dallas Cowboy, I mean, it's just like it's a massive organization to be a part of, right?
Yeah.
So pretty cool that was your first game played there. And then the second one was
Tampa.
Yeah. And then the final year was Edmonton.
Yeah.
Nice. Right on. Yeah. Good stuff. And then the first time I saw you play was in your dad's living room. When I met him, you were playing, and that was in Germany, correct?
Yeah. I think that's what you guys had said.
Yeah.
I was because after Edmonton, then I kind of bounced around in the minors for a few years, and then went to Germany. And I thought I'd go to Germany for 1 year, and we loved it so much we stayed for 4. So
is that right?
Yeah, we lived in Munich there, played in Munich for the Red Bull team.
Nice.
And they were awesome. It was great. We won a championship, and we always had good teams, and they treated us good.
Yeah.
And Munich itself is just an unreal city.
Yeah. So you love the
Canadians, Canadians can fit in Germany really easy, like especially us prairie boys.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have an easy time there as compared to if you went to France or some of these other countries. I don't know. It's just something about Germany, especially Bavaria.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. You're by the mountains, and it's the beer drinking culture. And I don't know. We all have a good time there.
That's
so
awesome.
Half our team is basically Canadians, most of them Western Canadians. And yeah, we hit it off good over there. So
nice. Right on. So wifey was with you over there?
Yep.
Well, that's awesome. Like, I mean, that's, you know, such a cool experience, you know, like, I mean, we're here, you know, you're there to play hockey, but like ride this as long as it, you know, like, I mean, as long as we can be, you know, living abroad, like we know we're going home at some point, right? Yeah. Like, it's so awesome.
Well, I can imagine that, like, I don't know, you can speak to this, but like when you play at the highest level in a professional sport, like the NHL, there's got to be this stress about trying to keep your job. Mm-hmm. And then when you kind of know, okay, I'm going to Germany, I'm going to ride this out. Like, was there like a sense of relief? Was there like this kind of like, now it's back again playing for fun and not for keeping your job? And it must feel good that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially like I would say Germany more so than probably any other country, but it's very regulated there. It's not, you're not going to Russia and hoping you're going to get paid. Like it's all by the book and by the government. And when we sign there, I mean, you'd have to do something pretty aggressive or just be awful for them to do anything, right? Like you're there and you don't really get traded. So you can go there and you can get all your living stuff and you know, you feel good about knowing that you're going to be there. And
wifey can nest.
Yeah. Like we had our second kid there. And
really?
The funny part was he was born September 22nd. Oktoberfest starts that day.
Oh boy.
And so we have our big team outing at Oktoberfest on September the 24th. Well, she made her. She made
no
her October.
Way.
Yeah. So she was only there for a couple hours and sipped on a little beer there. And but we got pictures there. It's hilarious. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I didn't want to miss it.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's willpower. Well, I guess it's not willpower because I mean it's just good effort. Real good effort.
Oh, she loved it. Yeah.
That's a good effort for sure.
Right on. Well, thank you for it's amateur hour over here as far as hockey goes. You know, as I told you before, I was a downhill skier in the middle of the prairies when I was growing up. So I find all the, you know, living abroad and that kind of stuff very fascinating because it's just, it's just hockey stuff.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah. Jay's gonna take over now. He's gonna get into some fun stuff before we kick you out of here.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got a couple questions here. Normally I'd ask like what kind of your favorite infield, you know, farming meal is, but what I actually want to know is obviously athletes are superstitious. So did you have any kind of interesting routine playing hockey that was like, this is what you ate that day, this is when you did and did not eat, this is what you did, this is what did you wash your socks, not wash your socks? Yeah. Was there any weird superstitions?
Oh, I'd be on the very low end of that compared to a lot of my teammates and stuff, especially as I got older. By the end, it just whatever kind of went. Like, especially once you have kids, I'm going to have a nap. Well, it's good until your kid comes and jumps on you. I mean,
yeah. And then it's over.
Yeah, like a game day, I guess, is kind of your time that you go to the rink in the morning, you come back, you have a lunch, and then you usually lay down. I mean, that's kind of the extent of it, though. You kind of always got to be on time. Like, we kind of just beat to our watch on those days and take care of your body, make sure you're not doing something the night before that you're gonna regret or whatever. But I mean, past that, I mean, you're just servicing your body mostly. I mean,
all right,
yeah. Can I just jump in?
Yeah.
The opposite to that, what's the craziest superstition routine that you've been witness to?
Oh, there's been quite a few OCD guys that I've played with, and they're walking through stuff and tapping on everything and
really
taping their sticks just perfectly. Well, I couldn't stand taping my sticks. For a while, I had that plastic stuff that my trainers would wrap on.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know. I just guess never been that mentally involved in all that stuff. But yeah, there's been guys that you can't get out of their car the proper way and just like
really
just completely debilitates them to a certain point. Like. It's like they take 10 minutes to do a simple task.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got to make sure I tap this and sit this way. Like, there's that one, that one goalie. I think he was in the show. Anyway, his thing was he couldn't get off. He had to be the last guy off the ice.
Yeah,
I don't know who that was, but like,
and one of his teammates was playing a prank and like was trying to fight being the last guy. I saw that video. I forget. I'll try to find.
And he was Shifley doing that. Does Shifley do that? Somebody off Winnipeg.
It was. I thought it was a goalie. Yeah. Maybe it wasn't a goalie. Yeah. Maybe it was just me hallucinating that night. But he because he was waiting. The one I saw, he was waiting for one of the guys in the opposing team to get off, and the guy would skate towards it, and he thought he was going, then he'd skate. So maybe
that's what it was.
Maybe that guy was playing fuck joke on him. Like, I mean, because he just would not get off the ice, and he's standing there until he got off. Yeah. He waited though.
Wild.
In Brandon, you'd appreciate this. In Brandon, it was always we'd go across the street to Subway. We'd get Subway for free on game days.
Yeah.
So the old lady that worked in there was named Marie. We call her Free Marie. You go in and
you
give her tickets to the game, or sometimes some of the guys would go right behind and help her make subs, and
No way.
we'd get a sandwich to go home with on game days. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Right on.
Side note about Marie, I've had 4 girlfriends with the middle name Marie.
Really?
Yep. Man, it's got to be
Yeah.
in that age bracket. It's
Yeah.
got to be the number one middle name of all time.
Yeah. What Jay's not telling us, it was the same girl with 4 different personalities.
right.
Yeah, exactly. You're not lying.
Yeah.
Okay, I got one on the farming thing. So obviously we know that farming can fluctuate year to year, and you're trying to maximize yields. You're trying to plan. I want you to rate these plagues that can happen on a farm from the one that you would least want to the one that you're like okay with, or the one that you'd be okay with. A flood, a wildfire, a drought, pest, diseases, infestation, all as one, or hail.
Whoa.
So flood, wildfires, drought, pest and diseases, or hail.
Well, I mean, wildfire, I don't know. Like, we've never seen it. We were talking about that this fall. Like, what if, when everything's ripe, what if a fire was to start, a few neighbors had them that kind of got away on them? Like that, I mean, if that ever happened,
That's devastating.
But I mean, I don't think we've seen one in southern Saskatchewan for years.
Okay.
Is there insurance? I should know this, but I don't. Is there insurance for that?
I've got unclear answers on that. I don't know.
Really?
I'm going to look like a dummy saying this, but
Hey man, I don't know.
I don't know that. I don't
Really?
know that.
So wildfire takes out whole crop. It's
I
gone.
mean, if you get a wind, Jay, if it's dry and you get a wind, we're talking,
Okay.
seconds.
Like it wouldn't, like if you just imagine when the crop is ripe, it wouldn't stop at anything.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be so scary. But I mean, for us, that would actually happen a lot on a wide scale. Would it be a flood? I mean, if we had 30 inches of rain next year, it's pretty hard to.
You got your water all draining now, though. So
at a certain point, though, it just
Yeah.
So flood versus drought. Flood is more dangerous to a farmer.
I would say generally at our place, yes.
Okay.
Like last year was very dry, and we had something. I guess years of prolonged drought would be tough. Hail, but I mean, it just doesn't seem like you get hail over all your acres.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some total losses, but it kind of seems like it's here and there usually.
Sure.
Okay.
So until you've had all of them, I guess it's hard to see.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
And pest diseases. I don't even know how that would happen. Like, obviously I'm not a farmer, so
Yeah.
But like, they actually get in and they eat your crop, right?
Yeah,
These
like I mean,
insects
the
and
recent
these-
one has been grasshoppers the last few years, but I mean, there's good chemicals. They're expensive, but I mean, we've been fighting grasshoppers for 3 or 4 years now.
Okay.
There's just that
not
many
as
of
bad.
them.
Yeah, not as bad where we are as farther west or south. I mean, it can get really bad, but it's just an expensive thing to control.
Yeah.
But I mean, almost every pest or disease to a certain point we can control.
Yeah. By
There's
spring.
some that are worse than others.
Yeah.
I mean, Fusarium and Durham,
Yeah.
it's pretty tough.
Yeah. I'm going to cut in real quick here with Jay's story that I was going to tell you, because it's regarding, we just mentioned spraying and how you can control those weeds and the pesticide infestation. So Jay is learning as we go along here.
Yeah.
So he's asked sporadic questions about farm operations, that sort of thing. So we get on the topic of sprayers one day, and you have to, you may have to interject in like how the conversation went, but we started talking about, putting on, application of pesticide, herbicide, if, that sort of stuff. And then we got on the topic of drought and not, obviously there's no rain. So he goes, well, aren't you guys watering the crop like with those sprayers?
Yeah.
And
I was like, what do you need a sprayer for if you're not watering
Making
the
it
crop?
rain.
Yeah, making it rain. Yeah. So
And they laughed. Everyone. I was literally a boy amongst men in a room of experienced agriculture. I'm talking like some of the biggest farmers in the province are looking at me like, Bro, what are you talking about? Like, do you think we just turned the tap on?
I'm actually just joking when I said that.
Yeah, that's right. It was the most purest moment for Jay that I've ever experienced. Because again, like, I mean, he's learning, and like, I can see, like, I can empathize with you how that would make sense. But like, literally, he didn't think drought was an issue because we're just out there watering it with the sprayer.
Yeah.
Well, I knew drought could be an issue because obviously there's like you would need access to that much water, but I thought there was always a way. I thought that's what a sprayer was. I didn't know you're spraying, pesticides or whatever. So
well, us farmers are so in touch with the weather. Like even with some of my friends that are from the city, it'll rain 2 millimeters. They'll be like, "Oh, it was a great rain we got last night." Well, yeah, but it didn't do anything. I mean, all it did is probably made your disease issue a little worse. But but we're hard on it too and picky and we like to complain, I guess.
Yeah, that's okay though. Yeah,
I love it. So wildfires and floods, not good. Hail, tornadoes. Yeah, well, we can live with those because we don't really get a lot of tornadoes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd take a tornado over a hailstorm.
Yes. And this is like if we had to pick. Like, I mean,
they're all bad.
They're all fucking terrible.
They're all bad.
Yeah.
Has the perfect year existed for you farming?
You're never going to get a perfect year, but I mean, the last 2 years have been, far from perfect as far as weather, but it just kind of works out.
Okay.
It seems like it's just an up and down thing with farming all the time. Like one day you wake up and it'll rain too much and the year's going to be over. And then the next day it's too dry. Like I said, there's always something to complain about, but at the end of the year, these last few years have been like historically our best years.
Nice.
So, but that's region by region. You go west or whatever, and it's not like that. So you're never going to hear any of the farmers agree on years either. So.
Yeah. It's never going to be like aligned, like good years versus bad years. Like, I mean, as you said, you go like, I mean, Alberta was like super dry last year, were they not? Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got one last one that I'm super passionate about, but I just got to know. Do you like Coke or Pepsi better?
Diet Coke.
Okay, I'll live with that.
I've got one. We've got 3 minutes here. Actually,
Diet Coke and Wiser's. It's hard to beat.
Oh, okay.
Really? You're a rye guy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Saskatchewan, right there.
Yeah. Is Wiser Saskatchewan?
No, it's just Saskatchewan's a rye whiskey place, right? Gotcha. A lot of people are traditional whiskey, but growing up here it's rye and Coke.
Yeah.
Or rye and diet, I guess.
Yeah, rye and Coke. I thought I was pretty sophisticated. I thought that gave myself a level of sophistication when I was 18 and ordering a rye and Coke at the bar. Like, I mean, it just sounded like...
But I wouldn't get a rye if it wasn't Wiser's, though. So that's where I'm different, yeah. It's either Wiser's or if it's not that, I'd go to rum.
Like, you're just going to a completely different drink?
You are brand committed. I like that.
I'm a beer snob now, too, living in Bavaria. I can't stand domestic beers anymore.
Really?
The German beers, it did something to me.
My beer days were out the window when I was 16. Like, we used to, Clear Lake, just north of Brandon there. Yeah, so we... go up there every May long, and we somehow get our hands on a keg. Yeah. And so, I mean, you're 16. Like, I mean, you weren't drinking to socially drink. You were drinking to get wasted.
Yeah.
And that was my, I don't know what that was, my phone. Anyway, so I hate the taste of beer now. I fucking hate it. And doing stupid stuff like getting root beer schnapps and mixing it with root beer.
Yeah.
Like, just dumb. This should be good,
Yeah.
Scars. I'm a simple man.
Yeah.
I like gin, a light beer, and some wine.
Yeah.
Nice. There you go.
And I don't even drink that much. So even to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you into wine?
I like red wine. I'm not like big up on it's got to be this type or that type.
Right.
I like red wine. Actually, I don't mind white wine either in the right spot.
There's a few odd ones, Did you put a cellar in the new place?
No, we just kind of did a nice shelf.
Gotcha.
Like I say, we don't drink quite enough of it. I did do like an encounter, like a 3-tap system.
Yep. Nice.
And so I got a German beer, and right now I got Guinness and actually unlimited sparkling water on the one side. So from Germany again, like
non-stop pop.
Nice.
Okay, two questions really quick for both of you. Best, in your opinion, the best sports movie, like the best sports feature film, like that's how you explain it.
Happy Gilmore's up there. My kids are obsessed with it right now, and like I still watch it and die laughing. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Mine would be Between Any Given Sunday and Moneyball.
Great fucking movie. Yeah. Both of those movies are great.
Yeah, those would be the ones I go back to. But I'm a Happy Gilmore fan too.
Yep.
When I was a kid, Major League. I thought was just unreal. Now I watch it, I don't really like it as much.
Moneyball, like
remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, those football. There's so many good football.
Yeah,
ones,
there is. Like Any Given Sunday is like up there, like pretty close to the top for me, if not. And it's like Al Pacino makes that movie. Like, I mean, Jamie Foxx is awesome, but Al Pacino's like dressing room speech is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then Moneyball, like I've used before and referenced. Like I'm not sure if I was speaking or if it was in a meeting, but just the way that they have. Their mission, like, I mean, Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt's mission was to get the whole team aligned with the understanding that, like, we have to concentrate on runs and like winning. We're buying our wins and we have to concentrate on run. Anyway, so it was the whole, getting the team on board, but the last guy to get on board was the coach. And that moment when he puts Hatterberg into bat for the 20th win. Yeah. And it was just like, at that moment, like, as soon as you get your team all running down the field the same way, it's like, you can make magic happen. Yeah. And I just always thought that was just like a great moment. Yeah,
Art Howe was pretty upset with how he was portrayed in that movie. But I laugh every time that Billy Bean, Brad Pitt, he won't play Hatterberg on first. Yeah. So he just goes in and trades all the first basemen. Yeah. And he's just like, you're not starting Pena today. And he's like, I'm not going 12 rounds with you. He's like, we're not, but you're not going to start Pena. Yeah. Hatterberg's going to be on first.
Yeah. Pena doesn't play for us anymore.
I'm sure that's all for cinema, but I do like that movie a lot.
No, it's good. Yeah, real good. Thank you so much for coming today, Keith. Yeah, really appreciate
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it was our pleasure for sure. Love to have you on again, and I'm not going to say the next time I'll see you will be with a brand spanking new track machine to try, because I'd like to get together with you before then. But you can expect that to happen in the very near future.
Yeah, it'd be exciting.
Right on.
Good to see.
Yeah, thank you very much again.
Yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it.
Right.